All right, welcome to a new edition on today's show. As always, we're excited to have you join us. This is Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. And I remain your host, Onumese Ehinoma Olusegun. As always, our program majorly focuses on everyday political and economic developments in Nigeria and sometimes beyond. But first, on President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's administration's calendar, today is November the 8th, Wednesday 2023, and it marks exactly 165 days of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is now exactly 5 months and 14 days as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. All right, so many things have been happening around the nation. Popular amongst them is the build-up to the November 11th off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. Now, off-season elections, we are aware that crises have rocked the peace meeting, and NLC strike threatens Imo polls. We are also aware that our traditional rulers flee as party engage in a shouting match in what is supposed to be a peace meeting. And Labour has also planned airport and electricity grid shutdown, among others. Now, do we have a statement from the IG of police? Of course, IG deploys new CPs and gives the DIGs and AIGs control over the 3 states. Then we also heard that about 3 were killed in Kogi, and amongst the 3 was or were policemen. And then INEC rejects the call to remove Imo resident electoral commissioner. Now, a peace meeting organized by the Independent National Electoral Commission ahead of Saturday's government or governorship election in Imo ended in confusion on Tuesday in Owerri, the state capital, after the INEC National Commissioner representing Southeast, Kenneth Ukweagu, ordered journalists to shut down their cameras and other gadgets. Now, participants, particularly traditional rulers at the session, fled the hall as the interactive session ended in disarray following the opposition to Ukweagu's directive by the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party members. Now, in what could be described as another unsavory development, the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress on Tuesday directed the workers in Imo State to commence a strike on Wednesday, which is today. And this is in protest against Governor Hope Uzodinma, who is seeking second term in office in the poll. Now, there are anxiety that the strike could jeopardize the election, as the INEC might not be able to distribute and transport materials due to planned shutdown of the transport system and other public facilities in the state. Now, trouble started during the Owerri meeting when Ukweagu, who represented the INEC chairman, directed journalists to switch off their equipment. But the state chairman of the APC, Ebere MacDonald, who briefed journalists, said that the opposition parties were making baseless and unfounded claims. However, the directive was challenged by the Labour Party deputy governorship candidate, Tony Nwulu, who questioned the rationale behind the order. Now, Nwulu insisted there was no way the media would be shut out of the stakeholders meeting and queried if the meeting was a secret cult meeting. Now, the running mate to the PDP governorship candidate Jones Onyereri supported Nwulu, insisting that the media must be part of the session. Onyereri alleged that the directive was a confirmation that the APC had made arrangements with the electoral umpire to rig the election. Now, he also displayed copies of documents he described as fake result sheets allegedly published on the INEC portal during the House of Assembly election in the state. Now, his allegations led to a shouting match as the APC members in the hall surged towards the members of the opposition parties. Fearing a possible outbreak of violence, traditional rulers and party leaders and the 9 resident electoral commissioners deployed for the election fled the hall already. Now, still on the outcome of that meeting, INEC now faults the parties involved. Now, media reports that the security agents, including the police and the Civil Defense Corps and others, could not control the rowdy situation as the party faithful rained verbal abuses on one another, and it almost turned into a scuffle. Now, the opposition parties demanded the removal of State Rec Sylvia Agu, accusing her of working for the APC. Now, the leadership of the Labour Party has also chided the INEC for retaining Agu despite the outcry from the opposition. Now, governorship candidates of the opposition political parties later staged a walkout from the meeting. Party candidate, while staging a walkout, demanded that the immediate redeployment of the INEC's residential electoral commissioner in the state, Sylvia Agu. They accused the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, of an alleged compromise already. Now, Nwulu, who is the running mate of the LP candidate, Labour Party candidate, who briefed journalists, said that if the IG could redeploy the state commissioner of police, the INEC chairman should have done the same to Agu. Now, meanwhile, INEC had announced in a statement issued on Tuesday that Agu would not be withdrawn from the state, adding that people calling for her transfer had not tendered any compelling evidence to warrant the move. Now, the electoral umpire declared that the REC would be assisted by several other national commissioners who would be physically present in Imo State to support her on the election day. Now, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Obiora Ifo, warned that if the commission insists on running along with its decision, it may be counterproductive. Now, reacting via phone, Ifo alleged that the party had tabled sufficient evidence to prove that Agu is a relative to one of the APC chieftains. Now, he says, and I quote, "We have given evidence to show the woman is not competent to oversee the election in Imo State. First, she is a blood relation to the APC Deputy National Chairman, Ima Enoku." I'm still continuing on the quoting. "Secondly, she was at the center of the crisis the Labour Party has in Nkanu East constituency in Enugu. We don't need anybody to tell us the REC is completely compromised. If INEC refuses to remove her, it means they are also collaborating to rig the election." End of quote. Now, the spokesman for the Obidati Presidential Campaign Council, Yunusa Tanko, also advised the same arguments. Tanko warned that INEC should seek to the tenets of rotating its state resident electoral commissioner for fairness and equity's sake. Now, INEC's statement has shown the level of state capture we are talking about, that's quoting Tanko, that will make Nigeria to be in total opposition. But we believe if the election is going to be free and fair, why are they insisting on retaining her? That is, they're talking about the Imo State REC. Is she the only REC in the system that can conduct elections? The danger here is that when they keep on forcing people to accept whoever they put in power, they are preparing the state for anarchy. Now, if it reaches a point, the people will rise up to protest. Before it gets to that stage, we urge INEC to do the right thing. He stated, justifying their directives to Imo State workers in a communique issued at the end of their extraordinary National Executive Council meeting, which was held in Abuja. The NLC and the TUC directed workers in the state to shut down the airport, power supply, and other amenities on their demands until their demands are met. Now, the unions in the statement jointly signed by NLC National Vice President Adewale Adeyanju and the TUC President Festus Osifo vowed to escalate the crisis by directing all workers to down tools nationwide if their demands were not met by November 14th. Now, the union had previously listed 15 demands the state government must meet. Among other things, Labour had accused the state of failing to implement past agreements. Now, let's go through them. Failure to pay 20 months of outstanding salary arrears, declaration of 11,000 workers in the state as ghost workers, vandalization of the NLC State Secretariat and discrimination payment to workers. They also listed other grievances, including unsettled gratuity arrears, non-compliance with national minimum wage, intimidation and harassment of labor leaders, use of violence and thuggery, misappropriation of union dues, declaration of pensioners as ghosts, systematic harassment and intimidation of workforce, reinstance to social dialogue and interference with workers' democratic processes. Announcing their decisions, the union stated, and I quote, "The National Executive Council in session orders immediate withdrawal of services and shutdown of Imo State beginning midnight Tuesday," which was yesterday. They stated that if their demands are still unmet, workers all over the Federation shall join in withdrawing their services by midnight Tuesday, 14th of November 2023. All state councils of NLC and TUC and affiliates are by this resolution mandated to ensure full compliance with the National Executive Council's decision. So there you have it in Imo. The die has been cast. And then issues have arisen. Could the NLC be doing this as an offshoot of partisanship? Because we understand that the labor union or the labor movement created a party, the Labour Party, which are major stakeholders in the Imo elections. The battering and the beating of the NLC president, could it be linked to partisan politics? We've heard from all sorts of media, from the president of the TUC, that they may not be doing whatever they are doing in the name of politics, that they just want good working standard and better welfare for labor people in Imo State. All right, still on the off-cycle, build up to the off-cycle elections, another development, a pre-election violence had begun in Kogi State, and we understand that at least estimated three fresh killings in Kogi. A group of protesters stormed the force headquarters in Abuja, demanding the removal of Kogi State Commissioner of Police. Now, Bertrand Onoha, who was alleged to compromise in securing lives and properties in the state. Now, the protesters, who are led by Murtala Ajaka, the Social Democratic Party governorship candidate in the November 11 election, claimed that 3 policemen and some members of the party were killed at Anyingba, Kogi State. The victims were reportedly killed by thugs allegedly operating in the guise of a state joint task force. They allegedly attacked the residence of the SDP campaign director general, Sheikh Ibrahim, in the early hours of Tuesday, which was yesterday. Now, the SDP candidate Ajaka and others later held a meeting with the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun. Now, recall that the last time that residents of Kogi State elected their governor, that is 16th of November 2019, which is approximately about 4 years ago, just a few days to make it 4 years ago. Recall that violence nearly marred that same exercise. Is it a matter of deja vu? Are we going to be having the same occurrence, terrible, regrettable occurrence, appear or come to life again? Now, let me also remind you that the election which returned incumbent Governor Yahaya Bello for his second and final term was disrupted in many polling units in Lokoja. Lokoja is the state's capital. Now, this and many other parts of the state also were in some kind of violent logjam. Now, thugs brazenly wielding rifles and other lethal weapons chased away voters and electoral officials before stealing ballot boxes. Some of the armed men wore police uniforms and drove around in Toyota Hilux vans, unaffected by official restrictions of movement on election day. Now, many voters were injured. Some lost their lives during and after the elections. Among the 4 confirmed fatal cases, if you could remember, was Acheju Abu, the woman leader of governorship campaign organization of the opposition PDP, who was gruesomely killed when suspected thugs doused her house with petrol and set fire to it. Now, the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, a civil society organization, in its report on the election, accused security agencies of complicity in the violence and voter intimidation during the election. Now, the police, however, denied as usual in their characteristic manner. They denied the accusations, saying the marauding thugs, in quotes, were fake policemen. I'm sure you remember now, fake police, that they wore fake police uniforms. As voters in the north-central Nigerian state of Kogi return to the polls this Saturday to elect Mr. Bello's successor, there are understandable fears of a replay of the 2019 disaster ahead of Elections Day. Some skirmishes have been recorded and a life-confirmed loss to violence in the state. Now, in September, a woman died and many others were injured in a clash between the supporters of the SDP and the supporters of the APC. Recall that SDP, which is Ajaka, out of disagreement, had to move out of the APC because the APC, the incumbent governor, already has an anointed candidate in the name of Adodo. Now, candidate Murtala Ajaka made a campaign stop in Cotton Cafe throughout the electioneering. The APC and the SDP have accused each other of stoking violence because they are always against each other. Although the woman killed in Cotton Cafe was reported to be a member of the ruling APC, the SDP said APC supporters launched the attack against its supporters at the rally. Now, addressed by Mr. Ajaka, that's the SDP candidate, he said after shooting at the crowd, the attackers descended on the venue of the rally to destroy the chairs, podium, and other campaign equipment. Now, regardless, the police authorities have assured that they have scaled up their preparation for the governorship election coming in the 11th of May, with the deployment of Deputy Inspector General of Police Ede Ayuba, Deputy Inspector General of Police Frank Mba and Habu Sani, and Daniel Sokaro Pedro to oversee the polls in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states. Now, let's see the sharing. Ayuba, who is the DIG in charge of operations, will coordinate the overall election security from the first headquarters, that is in Abuja. Now, AIG Mba will coordinate the election security in Imo State. Now, Sokari Pedro will superintend the poll in Bayelsa, and Sani has been mandated to ensure a hitch-free exercise in Kogi State. So, meanwhile, the IG on Tuesday also announced that there will be no vehicular movement at all, as well as movement of canoes, ships, and other means of transportation via waterways in the 3 states, starting from 12:01 a.m. 6 to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Now, Egbetokun, who said the decision was in line with measures to put in place to ensure free, fair, and credible elections, also bared quasi-security outfits, that's the ones in fake police uniforms. He barred them from carrying out operations during the exercise. Speaking further, he stated this election will be different. DCPs and ACPs will coordinate the election securities at local government area levels in the towns, villages. These are officers whose ranks are higher than the DPO, so electorate should have no cause to worry as security will be tight. Now, meanwhile, in a move to ensure watertight security during the election, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has also said that it will deploy 22,600 officers for the November 11 governorship polls in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states, respectively. This was disclosed on Tuesday by the NSCDC spokesperson, Babawale Afolabi. According to Afolabi, the deployment by NSCDC Commandant General Ahmed Audi will provide watertight security for the electorates, officials, other stakeholders, and non-sensitive materials before, during, and after the exercise. So much promises have been made from security agencies. INEC has come to tell us that they are ready. Non-sensitive materials have been moved. The rack centers are in place. All the political parties have turned in their agents, although there are some that have not turned in their agents. But there is palpable fear. There's a possibility of voter apathy because of threats of violence. Even before the election, we've been seeing series of violent attacks, even at campaign grounds. And the first question is this what our politics have become? All these questions we'll be having the conversations as we broaden this perspective today with the guest that will be joining us. Now, here is a small allegation from INEC stating or quoting real quick that polling agents ahead of the off-cycle elections may not have submitted all the necessary names of their polling agents. Now, in a move to ensure the efficient conduct of the election exercise, the INEC said 137,973 polling and collation agents will participate in the polls. Now, this was disclosed in a statement signed by the INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumekon, on Tuesday. Now, according to the statement, 34,704 agents were uploaded to Bayelsa State, 65,274 for Imo State, 37,995 for Kogi State, respectively. Now, the elections will be held in 10,470 polling units, excluding the 40 cumulative polling units without registered voters. Now, each political party is expected to nominate polling agents for all the polling units, as well as 649 wards, 56 local government areas, and 3 state collation centers. However, at the close of the deadline of the uploading, the list of the agents to the INEC dedicated portal by political parties, 34,704 agents were uploaded for Bayelsa, 65,274 for Imo, and 37,995 for Kogi states, making a total of 137,973 polling units and collation agents for the 3 states. However, the detailed breakdown shows that not all the political parties nominated agents for the polling and collation centers across the states. So indeed, some political parties have no polling unit or collation agents in some states, despite having candidates in the election. Now, this probably may cause some disparities also, but I want to believe that majority of the majority political parties have adequate enough agents. All right, the Bayelsa Guba election in Bayelsa. Let's move to Bayelsa now. We understand that Okowa, Damagun, Godwin Obaseki, and a few other governors come to rally around support for the PDP governor in Bayelsa. Now, the acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Ambassador Umar Damagun, vice presidential candidates in the 2023 general election, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, and governors of the party Tuesday stormed Yenagoa, Bayelsa State capital, to convey support for the party's governorship candidate, Senator Doyediri, for the November 11th election. Now, the grand finale of the Bayelsa State PDP governorship campaign rally held at the Oxbow Lake Pavilion in Yenagoa. Now, also in attendance were Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Senator Adolphus Wabara, Chairman of the National Campaign Council, Governor Agbu Kefas of Taraba State, Governor Sheriff Ovoribori of Delta, Umoeno, Pastor Umoeno of Akwa Ibom here, Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, Governor of Bayelsa, Lawrence Ujakbo, and his Edo State counterpart, Philip Shaibu, former Governor Senator Siriake Dixon of Bayelsa, and Senator Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State, presenting the party's flag to Governor Doyediri. Acting national chairman of the party, Ambassador Umar Damagun, said the party has done well in the state and called on the people to reciprocate the party's gesture by returning Governor Diri come Saturday. Now, he called on the people to avoid the mistakes of the past by voting Diri a man of peace who meant well for the development of the state. On his part, Okowa, who is immediate past governor of Delta State, commended the party for uniting ahead of the election. He said, going into the election as a united party means victory was assured for the party. Okowa lauded Diri for his humility, focus, and hard work across the state, adding that the Yenagoa and the parts of the states have changed over time. Let's take a look at the video.
As I leave this light to you, your road is clear.
All right, that was a video clip of the colorful campaign. We had current executive governors of the PDP political party and even some ex-governors rallying round Governor Duye Diri. Come 11th of November, of course, the elections will show whether Diri has been performing as a governor or not, because Labour Party also has a candidate, and we understand that Mr. Timi Prayer Silva, the immediate past Minister of Petroleum Resources, name has been returned on the APC list by INEC following the Court of Appeals statement that he is qualified to contest under the platform of the All Progressives Congress. So all this and more, what we just pray for at the most is that violence is reduced to the barest minimum. We call on the security agencies to do the needful, and INEC should also hold its own, because if we have peaceful, fair and credible elections, it follows, and then you have an opportunity also to contribute via social media or phone calls. We'll go on a short break. We'll be back. Join us again.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
All right, welcome back and many thanks for staying tuned. Real quick, we'll go straight into our conversations today. And majorly we'll be focusing on the build-up to the tripartite off-cycle elections in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. Recall that there's been reports and occurrences of violence, serious violence, where there's been loss of property and lives as a build-up to the election. And the questions that come to mind is, why are we so desperate? Why has our politics become a do or die affair? Is this the way it is practiced in other climes, especially those that we are borrowing their styles and methods of democracy from? All these questions will be answered. I have Mr. Victor Anilaju join me virtually from Lagos. Mr. Victor Anilaju is an entrepreneur, a former presidential aspirant, and also a public affairs analyst, and a serious sympathizer of the Labour Party. Mr. Victor, good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My banter friend, how are you doing?
Thank you for having me.
If there's anything I've enjoyed,
I'm fine.
yeah. If there's anything I've enjoyed having conversations with you, it's about your ideology. It's always very straight, never shaking. You know, your beliefs are very strong. They are unwavered. And even when instances are given, that how do you reconcile this? You still insist that whether it is right or wrong, that is the way you see it. Anyway, how is Lagos this morning? You know I must tease you as my friend. How is Lagos this morning?
Well, Lagos is calm.
Okay.
Like I told you, businesses are going down in Lagos.
That's good.
Businesses
I would have framed it the way you would have liked it. You know the way you would have liked it now. How is Lagos under the APC-led administration doing?
It's doing badly. Doing
badly. Okay. All right, so let's get on with the conversation. Of course, you have been reading the newspapers, you've been watching TV, you've been watching Spectrum News, and you've been following our programs also. You've seen all the build-up to the off-cycle elections. You know that the security agencies always have enough manpower when it is not the general elections. That's when you hear as much as 30, 40,000 officers deployed to a state or probably 27 local government areas. And then you're wondering, what does police want to go and do? Are they going to go and wage a war against certain persons? Or is this thing really about the elections, or is it more than the way we see it, you know, from the reports we're getting? But let me start by asking you that as a build-up to the 3 off-cycle elections, there are fears that violence may mar the exercise in parts of the 3 states. Political thuggery and intimidations are rife. Are the people justified to be afraid ahead of these elections? The people, especially the electorates or the indigents of those states, are they justified to be afraid? Explain.
Yeah. Yes. You know, the truth about it is that, you know, I'm a victim of election thuggery. You know, in Lagos here, just this same year, I could not vote. I came out to vote. About 14 towns came to me and said they know me, that I can cast my vote, that they know that I'm not going to vote for APC. And they took my voter sheets from me. Let me tell you how bad it is. It was a policeman that came to tell me to walk away before they will kill me. To tell you how bad it is, you know. And that is why even right now as I speak with you, I don't have any confidence in any election now going on in the country until they are able to pass a bill that will allow you to vote from any polling unit or have a special center where people can go and vote. People who are scared should have it. Like me now, if I want to vote again in Lagos, I can't go to the public place to vote because the touts told me that they know me, that they cannot allow me to vote. So we need to start having special centers where people who feel afraid, who feel their life is being threatened because of their vote, to go there and vote. But I will tell you right now, it is what always happens in Nigeria. If one politician has succeeded in doing it, the others follow suit. Since APC have succeeded in introducing thuggery, introducing people who are violent into our electoral system, my brother, don't expect any election coming up in this country again to be free and fair. We saw how APC ravaged all our polling units with talks.
I wasn't in
that
Lagos.
Would be
I wasn't in Lagos.
What you'll be seeing going.
And where I voted, I wasn't in
But
Lagos.
I'm not telling you.
No, hang on. I wasn't in
I'm
Lagos.
not telling you yesterday.
No, Mr. Victor, hang on. I was not in
Lagos.
Lagos. And where I voted was relatively peaceful. You know, I can only speak for what I know. Yes. Were there violence across the nation? Yes, there were. I'm not aware, I'm not privy to the ones in Lagos, apart from videos and pictures that we saw. But in the place where I voted, the local government where I voted, it was almost 80% peaceful. So it's not in all the areas that we had violence, but there were some areas where there were violence. Yes, Mr. Victor.
Because
go on.
Because you are not in an APC state. It's because you are not in an.
So how do you know I'm not in an APC state?
You mentioned two states now.
I didn't vote in Akwa Ibom.
No, no. Where? Okay, can you please tell us where you voted?
No, go on. I'm the one asking the questions, Mr. Victor. Come on.
So, imagine the two other states you just mentioned now, Imo State and Kogi State. Those are APC states.
Okay.
APC states now are violence states, especially when it comes to election. Because APC operates their election by toggling. APC doesn't want to campaign. They don't want to tell you what they want to do. They just want, on that day of election, send thugs, go and take over polling units. That is APC agenda. They don't care about anything anymore. What they care about on that day of election, send thugs, let thugs distort the whole election. At the end of the day, we have INEC in our pockets. INEC will come up and announce the result sheet that we give to them. That is their strategy.
Okay.
They don't care whether people are eating, whether people are surviving, whether the cost of fuel is high, because they know that Nigerians hate them. They know that Nigerians are ready to vote APC out. So right now, they are forcing the whole system on Nigerians to make sure that Nigerians cannot vote. They are scaring the system. They are sending threats to people. They are killing people. They are burning houses. They are bringing out thugs and different kind of guns. APC state, go and look at all the APC states. If you want me to count, I could count it top my fingers. Go and check it. That's where you have the highest rate of violence.
Okay. You may be very correct,
so you should know,
Mr. Victor. You may be very correct from the evidences and the materials and the proofs that have been surfacing, you know, everywhere, mainstream media, social media, that some APC governors are very, very, very violent. I quite agree with you. So let us begin with Kogi. Let's start from Kogi State, because we have 3 states. We're going to take Kogi, we're going to take Imo. Now, Kogi State, we understand that Governor Yahaya Bello wants to make sure that his candidate Adodo wins, and this has seriously resulted in the use of force, at least by reports. Now, Ajaka of the SDP is claiming that it is the APC that is perpetuating violence and mayhem. Now, can they speak to the issues of violence in Kogi? Recall that in 2019 also, that popular PDP woman leader was burnt alive inside her residence, you know, and it has been terrible. It has been a bloodbath. And it is worse now because even Governor Yahaya Bello, according to sources, his major concern is not even the opposition PDP. His major concern are some of his party loyalists before, while he imposed Adodo on them within the APC during the primaries, that left the APC to go and join parties like the ADC and the SDP. Popular among them is Mr. Ajaka, who seems to be quite popular. And he's been saying it, that it is the APC people, according to him and their talks, that often erupt violence or starts violence. So I wanted to speak to the level of APC violence in Kogi State, you know, by all the stakeholders or all the people who are interested in clenching the very, very first seat of the state. All right, Mr. Victor, if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Mr. Victor, can you hear me? Okay, I already established it that while we are going to take each of the states one by one. We will start from Kogi State. If you can hear me, can you hear me now? We'll start from Kogi State, and we have been reading reports. We've been covering some reports ourselves on cases of endless violence and intimidation and voter inducement and all sorts of things. I want you to speak to that for Kogi. Okay, we might be having some technical issues. Let's quickly rush on a break, try whether we can resolve the issue, and then we'll get back to you and continue on the conversation. Join us again. Stay tuned.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
All right, apologies for the technical hitch there. We're right back. Mr. Victor Adilaju, can you hear me clearly now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry for that small technical mix-up. So we were going into Kogi. We had established that even as far back as 2019, there's been serious violence eruption when Governor Yaya Bello was going to come back in his second tenure. Remember that in his first tenure, they used to mock him that he was a coronated governor because he got there by virtue of the fact that the elected governor, Mr. Haudu, lost his life some few days before he was inaugurated. And then there were rumors then that as of 2019, it was a do-or-die affair for him. He needed to prove that he could win election at all costs. And that cost a lot of lives and properties. Now, as a build-up to the November 11th election, now we've been hearing all sorts of things in Kogi. In fact, the security forces are worried that the election violence flashpoints and hotspots are more in Kogi. And as such, they've decided to deploy close to 40,000 personnel, including almost 27 or 30,000 policemen amongst other forces. So I wanted to speak on the issue of Kogi.
Okay, so 40,000 policemen. I guarantee you, like you always know, I'm here to say my mind. Those 40,000 policemen are going to Kogi to work for APC. They will be used as a tool to rig election, to manipulate the election in favor of APC. I could tell you this categorically clear. Now, let me tell you one thing that
because you know the funny thing, it is easy. You should be able to hear me, Mr. Victor. Can you hear me? Okay, let's start with the issue of violence first, because it's very easy to allege. There is no way in this life you can say that the whole 40,000 personnel, including NSCDC, military, army, police, are all going to work for APC. Okay. At that level, if you don't have an evidence, it is at the level of allegations. And of course, you know we have to be professional with what we do. You can't insinuate. Yes. If you have heard one or two things, you can let us know that this is the source where you heard it from. But a cross carpet or a sweeping statement that is a theory or an allegation like that could even put me in trouble. Because the truth is, as a professional broadcaster, we work with facts or evidences that have the empirical data. Yes, there is violence. Yes, there may be complicity in the area of security forces, but we cannot just say the entire 40,000 figure are going there to work for one political party. That would be unfair to say. And you also said that APC imported thuggery and political thuggery. As a matter of fact, that is not exactly a fact also, because there's been allegations upon allegations, and there's been shouts and outcry, even during the PDP administration, that there were use of thugs. So let us start all over again. Let's speak to the violence first, you know, before we allege which political party is weaponizing the security forces. Mr. Victor.
Yeah, so what we are looking at here is who is in charge of Kogi. That's allow me to explain myself better.
Okay. So feel free to do that now.
I bring a false allegation.
Go on.
Yes. As the governor of a state, you are like the head. You are the head of security of your state, right? And we know. We don't separate this narrative. The current governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, is under APC. Put that in underline, APC. And what is APC antecedents for election? Number one, they use the armed forces as an agent to carry out political thuggery. You should know that, right? You mark that down. That is an antecedent of APC. Antecedent meaning their previous elections. How do APC handle their election, right? Number two, they engage thugs, thuggery. They engage people, young people. They give them weapons, guns. They give them arm to go and arm voters, right? Number three is rigging. They connive with INEC to manipulate the election results. Where they will have one, they will increase it to 100, right? Then number 4 is to make sure that on that day where they want to announce the result, they get the INEC person there to announce that they are the winner. Having said this antecedent, let's come back to even the current governor. During the last election this year, the senatorial election, I could quote a particular one, the lady from PDP, right? Do you know that the major road that leads to her constituency where people will pass to go and vote, they dug a deep hole on the road leading to where people will pass to go and vote the eve before election to disenfranchise voters from coming out to vote against APC, right? I'm just trying to put this antecedent so you know. Like you earlier have said, 2019 election, governorship election in Kogi, they had to kill one of the political party, one of the opposition, one of the leaders of the opposition. They have to kill her. They burnt down her house and her building. They even sent talks after their opponents in Kogi State. Kogi is a state that is led by APC. Now, let's come back to the situation as we see it in Kogi. What is the solution? I would have said that people should not come out and vote. But me saying this, that means we are playing into the hands of APC, because that's what they want. They want where people will not come out and vote so that they can announce any result and remain there. They want to put fear into the mind of people. I will advise the people of Kogi to come out in mass. Whether you are voting, whether you are not voting, come out. Everybody come out. Be on the road. Because when these people, when they see crowd, they always will give way. We have tried this in Lagos. During the presidential election in Lagos, we all came out, both those who were voting and those who were not voting. We came out in numbers. So even the touts, when they saw the numbers, they left. But during the governorship in Lagos State, because we felt, okay, fine, it's going to be free and fair, we were not coming out in numbers. The touts now have more of the numbers. And the only advice I will give the people of Kogi, come out in your numbers. Whether you have voters card, whether you don't have voters card, come out with your numbers. Protect yourself. Get every gadget that you need to protect yourself. Both audio, both video, whatever it is, other weapons that you can use to protect yourself, come out with it. Those who have voters card, let them go and vote. Those who don't have, be watching those who have voters card, protecting them and getting them to vote. Because the truth about it, as Nigeria is right now, right, everybody needs to be engaged in this political circle. Whether you have voters card, whether you don't have voters card, come out and protect a particular candidate of your choice that you feel will liberate, that you feel will bring development to your state. I'm speaking to the people in Kogi and the people in Bayelsa and also the people in Imo. Come out in mass. Don't let anybody put fear into you. Come out, protect yourself. The Constitution gives the voters the right to protect themselves. Every citizen of Nigeria has that right to protect him or herself. So that's what I will say will be the solution. But believing in INEC, that INEC will do the right thing, is not going to be true. Believing in the armed forces that they will do the right thing is not going to be true. Like you said, not all of them, but some of them might want to do the right thing. But I already know the script of APC. What APC play with, they play with armed forces, use them as a weapon to scare people. They play with Togri, they play with election, INEC, they read result, and they will force somebody to announce that they are the winner. These 4 things, we already know that's what they are going to do. So let us prepare ourselves on how do we tackle them. How do we tackle these armed forces that they want to use to rig the election? Get your phone ready. Do a lot of video. For these days, even if you do video, you go to court. Court will still announce them as the winner.
I knew you were going to say that.
Protect yourself. Get your arms.
Mr. Victor, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
But your advice to the Kogi people that are called the Kogites is a very valid advice. Still on Kogi, I want to ask a final question. Assume that you are the one advising INEC or advising government on how it will coordinate these elections. Will 40,000 security personnel in Kogi, do you think it will be a solution to curbing the violence and voter apathy? If it is, explain why. If it is not, still share with us, Victor. Deploying 40,000 security forces.
Well, the truth about it is that security personnel, it's okay, it's good. If they will go there and do what they are supposed to do, if they go there and they are going there not to be biased, they are going there not to support APC, is cool. But you see, the presence of armed forces, that's where you know that APC themselves, they themselves don't even know what they are doing. Because the presence of a lot of military people even scare people away. You make them believe that, okay, maybe there is an alarm that they are going to attack. That's why we're having a lot of security personnel coming out.
So what would you have advised INEC?
You see, because the security people are not controlled by INEC in the first place. Because when I was attacked,
no, in this
INEC
case, INEC is constitutionally provided to deploy the forces. We know they are not controlled, they are controlled by the Inspector General of Police, but for the purpose of election, it is INEC that deploys them. INEC doesn't do anything else. They do their work, but the deployment of the security forces, the organization of the entire election is conducted with or by INEC. Go on.
No, from the little I know, INEC has no business with the security agency.
That's what I'm saying. They don't control what they do.
Sent by...
They don't control what they do.
Yes.
But this deployment.
Yes. So INEC, yes. So that's why I said that INEC have little or nothing to do. What they need to do, show up on that day on time. Give people time to do accreditation, get their voters paper, and allow them to cast their vote. But because we are talking about violence, INEC cannot stop violence. The only thing that we suggest that INEC do, which I know they will not do, which I've suggested before, is that every polling unit should have a CCTV camera. And if you capture that there is violence within a polling unit, cancel that polling unit. But if you say cancel that polling unit, that's what APC wants INEC to do. That's what. So you see, the advice now is if we say now if there is violence in a polling unit, it should be cancelled. That's what APC want. APC want a polling unit to be cancelled. APC want to show whereby when the people come out to vote, let their votes not be counted. So I think that advice might be contradicting. That's why I said the best advice I can give is to the people, like you call them, the Kogites, the people of Kogi, the people that reside in Kogi and the people who live in Kogi should be the one to come out and protect themselves and protect their vote and make sure their vote is counted. When I mean make sure, they should make sure their vote is counted. Now, that is one point. Like we just saw in the presidential election, your vote can be counted, but when they're announcing the results, they will announce somebody else as the winner. So that's why I said, from every corner, protect your votes. Even when they want to declare who win the election, make sure you people are there. Protect the vote. And if they announce something that is not what was done that day, don't wait for any court. The Supreme Court will not even help you. Neither will the appeal court help you. Protect yourself and protect your votes. That's what I can advise the people of Kogi. I don't know about INEC. But INEC, like we know, the current INEC chairman, as far as Yakubu is there, I don't expect INEC to work against APC. Yakubu is a member of APC. Is a partner of APC.
According to you, Mr. Victor. Anyway, so you've made.
I expect that INEC.
Yes. You advise for...
I expect that INEC at the end of the election of that day, we want to support APC. The INEC chairman is a huge supporter of APC. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Let us now go. Let us not belabor. Let's quickly go to Imo. Another hotbed of violent activities, especially this pre-election period. Now, a lot of people have attributed it to the nature of the governor. Who is the governor there? Governor Hope Uzodinma. Recall that recently also, the NLC president was beaten and battered, and even his eyes were broken. And now there will be the NLC have decided that there will be a shutdown of the state's economic activities, shutdown of power, shutdown of airfield, you know, and there are accusations that Uzodinma was involved in the beating up of the NLC president. Now, there is another allegation that whatever activities the NLC and the TUC may have embarked in Enugu had political undertones. Although the governor, on a lot of video making the rounds on social media, have said that he had nothing to do with the beating up of the NLC president. But the NLC and the TUC are saying no, he has, and that they've had a long history of some demands that he has refused, you know, to adhere to those demands. And now they are mobilizing to show some kind of industrial demonstration, and the governor is using the police to stop them from doing so. I wanted to speak to the issue of Imo also.
So just like I said, you know, these are the traces, these are the attributes, these are the characteristics of APC. Violence, thuggery, war, anger, arms, ammunition, beating up of people. These are the characteristics of APC. The question we should be asking now is that why is APC operating in this kind of violence, this kind of thuggery, this kind of wicked operating system? Because the truth about it, like you know, this same Hope Uzodinma came forth in the last election. APC used courts to bring him to become the first person. So number one, that guy has never won an election in his life, apart from being a senator. And he has never won a governorship election in his life. So we should get that clear. Number two, if you are somebody that you are in fourth position in your state, and you are not the current governors, that means your support system in the state is not up to 200,000. So what are you going to embark on? You will embark on beating people, and for all you have to know is that the Labour have even said that they are going on strike from on the 14th of November, nationwide strike.
And that is 3 days. That's supposed to be 3 days after election.
Yes, nationwide strike. They would have gone on strike today or tomorrow, but they had to use wisdom to shift it after the election. So that's when they will go on strike. Because the truth about it, the APC-led government need a tougher hand. The APC-led government is not a government whereby you say, okay, they will do the right thing. They will never do the right thing. Follow antecedent. Now, I'm not here to bring allegation. Follow their antecedents. They are always about doing things with violence. But I will still give the same advice to the Imolites, the people of Imo. Protect yourself, protect your votes. Don't sit at home. Come out in mass. Whether you have voters card, whether you don't have voters card, come out. Come out with all protective measures to protect yourself from any attacker of thuggery, any attacker that is coming from the armed forces. Get your cameras, do all the recordings you have to do. Get yourself protected with your protected gears. Get yourself prepared for the election. Don't allow fear keep you at home. Come out in mass. Whether you have voters card, whether you don't have voters card, come out. If you don't have voters card, stand to protect those that have voters card. We will not allow thuggery to take over this country. I'm telling you, we are not going to allow it. This is going to be the end of thuggery in our election. Election is not by force. Leadership is never by force. If the people don't like you, go. Let them vote for someone they like. Why must you impose yourself on them? What do I expect? Is what happen at the head that happened at the bottom. If we have a president that imposes himself on people, what do you expect a governor to do? Like, the current president now is an illegal president. He never won the election. He just imposed himself on the people. So I don't expect anything less, anything short of what we have seen at the presidential level. I don't expect anything
Mr.
less
Victor,
than
the
everything we have
Supreme,
seen on
the
the
Supreme
presidential
Court
level.
has
That's what we are going to be
made
seeing at the
their
state.
pronouncement, and by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court upholding the victory of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that already legitimizes his presidency, because anything that the Supreme Court says, as they often say, is law. So, but you are entitled to your opinion, but I'm just saying that the facts of the matter is that Supreme Court has said everything that the opposition have brought are null and void for whatever reasons, technical, legal, whatever, moral, spirit of the letter. And the Supreme Court has made a pronouncement that Tinubu is upheld as the substantive president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that's a fact.
No. Let's educate the people very well.
That's what I've done.
The Supreme Court only gave that judgment based on evidence that is present with them. But the Constitution of Nigeria is higher than the Supreme Court. In fact,
the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution of Nigeria.
The Supreme Court.
The Constitution is letters. The Supreme Court is the temple of the law, the temple of justice that interprets the law. That's why they say when the Supreme Court makes a position, it becomes law. Yes, go on.
No, the Constitution still stands as the superior. The Supreme Courts are supposed to operate by the Constitution. And the Constitution clearly stated that if you forge your results, you cannot be a president. If you don't win Abuja, you cannot be a president. If you don't win 24 states, you cannot be a president.
Okay, you are talking about the Electoral Act.
So-called president.
You are talking about the Electoral Act. Move on.
The Electoral Act is vetted out of the Constitution. It's right there in the Constitution. It's right there in the Constitution. So all of this we're saying, what we are saying here, sir, let's leave this English that will come on air to speak. And you and I knows that Bola Ahmed Tinubu never won the presidential election. Whatever anybody come out to say, the Constitution says this, Supreme Court says this, because so if Supreme Court says something and it's against the Constitution, we should just accept it. It's not done anywhere, and it's not done.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine, Mr. Victor, you've made your point, but remember we are not talking about the general elections now. We are talking about the off-cycle elections.
You, sir,
and we have 2 APC states and 1 PDP state. So are you saying we are expecting the same lack of confidence from the electorate and the citizens in the forthcoming off-cycle elections because of maybe some indicators or the marks that you have seen? Are you saying that there may be a problem with the elections, or what exactly are you saying? We've left Bola Tinubu, we've discussed it enough. What? So let's focus on the upcoming off-cycle elections, sir.
Yeah, what I'm saying in the upcoming election, especially for the APC states, especially for Kogi and Imo, is that what you see happen in presidential level is what is going to happen in these states. But I am advising the people of Kogi, Imo State, and Bayelsa, come out and vote and protect your vote and protect yourself. That's what in fact, protect yourself first, vote and protect your vote. That's my advice going on board, because we are not banking on the armed forces to protect our votes. They are not going to protect your vote. I know that 100%. We are not banking on INEC to announce our votes. We are not waiting for INEC. INEC will not do that. The second thing I will advise other political parties to do is that have your own portal, have your own database, where every result sheet that you have signed, you screenshot and you send to that database. Have your own portal, have your own sheets. I'm advising Kogi right now and the people of Imo. This is what you are going to do. Come out, protect yourself. When you protect
Okay,
yourself, go out and vote.
Obi is
Those
not on
who
the
have
ballot.
voters card,
Obi is not on the
protect
ballot
those
in Imo.
voting.
We have other candidates in Imo. And we also understand that in Imo, there's been projection that about 15 local governments out of 27 local governments are flashpoints of possible violence. We've heard all sorts of things. We've heard about the stories of the unknown gunmen. We've heard about stories of allegations of the governor using thugs to intimidate not only his opposition, but even some of the indigenes. Some traditional rulers have also even complained bitterly that they've moved from their constituents or their villages or their towns to Owerri when they feel it's safe, which means that there will be displacement. Even people who have their voters card to vote may not, out of fear, want to go back to their polling units or their areas to vote. And Imo seems to be a serious situation also because of all the things we are seeing on ground. So I quite agree with some of the things you are saying. The only part that I may have issues with is for you to use sweeping statements, to qualify everybody, or you generalize. Whatever it is has been happening today, I'm not justifying it, but there's been allegations, there's been criticism, there's been outcry, even when the other party was in power. How be it, it may be worse as we speak. We're supposed to be moving forward, not going backwards. Yes, Victor.
Yeah, so I'll take it up there from you. Sometimes we want to look at antecedents. I always will say that political party, you have to watch the way they address issues. You have to watch the way they respond to issues, right? So for me, I have left the issue about facing political party. I'm now into the issue of advising Nigerians what to do, profiling solutions. And that's why I have said that in Kogi State, in Imo State, even in Bayelsa, Nigerians, come out and vote. When you finish voting, or before you start voting, come out and protect yourself. Be ready to protect yourself, especially for the APC-led state, which is Imo and APC. When you are done voting, protect your votes. And to other political party, have a screenshot of your voter sheet results. Screenshot it, have a platform where you can send it into, right? Then I will still also advise that we should not allow our election to be determined by the courts. I think the APC-led government, they are misusing that opportunity. I know His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan had advised against it, that we should make sure that it's the people that determine who becomes their leader, not courts. But the way APC have bastardized the whole thing now, have scattered the whole thing now, which is their characteristics of destroying things. They don't know how to develop.
Okay,
as we
finally wrap up now,
Mr.
Victor, can you hear me? Okay, as we finally wrap up now. Now, judging by the antecedents of the electoral umpire INEC as it is, because we cannot talk about the off-cycle elections without touching on INEC. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has come to tell us how prepared they are. They've told us that in 3 states, non-sensitive materials have been mobilized. Security forces and police have been mobilized. Ad hoc staff have been trained. The area, the rack centers have been equipped. They've said all sorts of things. They've also accused the political parties that some political parties didn't send adequate number of polling agents that are supposed to match the total number of polling units. But judging from their antecedents, over conduction of recent political processes and votings, whether general or off-cycle. There's been complaints. There's even been arguments that INEC may not even have the wherewithal or may not be constitutionally backed enough to be strong enough to conduct a successful election. So I put it to you. Now, the responsibility of conducting a successful election, is it too much for INEC and the security forces? What would you advise? As we wrap up, we have barely 2 minutes to just have this conversation. Do you think the work is too much, or do you think it's the constitution that is not allowing them or enabling them to do their appropriate, the work appropriately?
No, the Constitution has given INEC that right. That's why they are independent body to decide. It's INEC themselves that is sabotaging their work. The government have approved you post your results in real time, but INEC himself is the one not posting the result real time. INEC has a portal. They have been given that leverage to say, okay, once a result of a polling unit is ready, post it real time. So it's INEC that is sabotaging their own electoral processes. It's INEC that we saw that is not following their electoral guidelines. They should stick to their guidelines. The guidelines is once a polling unit is done voting, the original copy of that polling unit will be sent.
Okay, so you are saying
an
INEC
online portal
ideally can conduct a successful election without complaints or minimal
100%,
complaints.
sir. INEC collects close to 50 billion naira every year to service their system, pay staffs, and do all of that. And they have budget also.
Yes, for these 3 elections, I think it's estimated between 18 and 19 billion.
Well, that's obviously what we hear, but I know at the end of the day, what gets into INEC is up to 50 billion annually to do everything that
you really may have, Mr. Victor, you really may have some information you are privy to that even we at the forefront of media may not have access to that information. But I must thank you for being a part of this show. I think at this point we'll have to call the wraps on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much, as always, for bearing your mind on the issues as they are in a most unadulterated way. That is typical of you. One of these days, we'll probably have someone who disagrees with you, and I'm sure it's going to be very interesting, because then you are going to be presenting a lot more facts like I've always asked you. But on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. That's been all that we can take on this show today. Mr. Victor Anilaju has been a part of the show, and we've had conversations back and forth, especially on the preparation and the preparedness of INEC and the preparedness of all stakeholders on the forthcoming elections. I want to use this platform to also wish all the people who will be coming out to vote safe. Their properties will be safe, their families will be safe, and in the end, they will be able to vote in the person they feel will move their constituents or federating units, so to speak, or states forward. The conversation of nation building and deepening democracy can never be exhausted, and so that is why we'll continue to have the conversations back and forth, for and against. On that note, I'd like to say thank you so much for being part of this show. I remain yours sincerely, remember, all conversations continue on our social media platforms. Remember to reach us at SpectrumT online, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, and all the social media platforms. I remain yours sincerely. See you on the next edition. Have a great day.